So we've got some bad news here, and that's that our rows have kind of broken. Good news is it looks like none of our other rows are in any danger of breaking further. So once we get through these 8 robot masters today, nothing will be broken any longer on this video. So after Mega Man 10 came out, the Mega Man brand suffered several canceled games, and the man attributed as Mega Man's creator, although he's not entirely, that's kind of a complicated story on its own, left Capcom and pursued his own company, raised one of the most successful Kickstarters ever to create his own Mega Man game, and it was not very good. After that, someone else within Capcom stepped up to head Mega Man projects, and we finally got our first new Mega Man game in almost a decade in Mega Man 11. Now, Mega Man 11 features a new gimmick, the double gear, which allows you to slow down time with the speed gear or power up your weapons with the power gear. And this one gimmick is going to make judging these fights pretty difficult, because I had to consider a lot more than I had for every other fight up to this point. I'm going to give it my best shot. First up, we have Acid Man. Now, the first thing he will do is create a barrier around himself that will damage you if you touch it. It takes several Mega Buster shots to destroy, but his weakness, the Block Dropper, destroys it instantly. If you use the Power Gear with it, it will not only destroy it, but also damage him afterward, as the Power Gear version drops 3 rows of blocks instead of just 1. His normal strategy is to summon the acid barrier and then shoot 3 blobs of acid towards your location, which you can bait to go high or low and jump over them. And then he'll try to jump to your location, which you can easily slide away from. When he's about halfway down his health, he'll activate the speed gear. He'll jump in the acid below and start swimming rapidly across the screen. Once he reaches your location, he will jump up and shoot 3 acid blobs that you can jump over. These are in the same arc every time, rather than homing. And he will do this about, I want to say 4 times before he reverts back to his normal pattern. You can hit him when he jumps up to shoot the blobs at you if you use the Block Dropper at the right time. But when he is in the acid, he is invulnerable. Block Dropper is a good weakness for him because of this. These numbers are a little bit confusing here, but bear with me. At least for the Block Dropper, it's simple. There's only 2 numbers, and they seem to all be the same. I'm not sure why they... Oh, okay, I get it. I get it. Okay. So, Block Dropper, if block touches Acid Man, it deals 5 damage, whether it's the normal version or the Power Gear version. So I guess the strategy there is use the Power Gear when he's in his normal attack phase and has the barrier up. Use a regular Block Dropper if you're trying to hit him when he is jumping up after using the speed gear, because he won't have the acid barrier. Acid Man's a really good fight, and his weakness is quite appropriate. One thing I will say about the weaknesses is they do consume more energy when you use the Power Gear, and I'm not going to fault any of them on the basis of not having enough energy to defeat the Robot Master with, because they all do. Even if you see some of my footage actually run out of energy, it's not because of the Robot Master or the weapon, it's because of me. But anyway, Acid Man is a good fight. He is S tier. Next up we have Blast Man. Now his strategy is to throw an arc of bombs at you and do it again, and then run towards you, stop just shy of getting to you, jumping back to his position, throwing out another arc of bombs, throwing out his chain blast, and then jumping to the other side. And this is his pattern, he just repeats it. It's a very simple pattern, and once he reaches half health, he'll activate the power gear. It doesn't change his pattern, it just makes the bombs big and do more damage. However, his weakness is the Blazing Torch, which does 6 damage whether or not you are using the power gear. The only difference is that with the power gear, it shoots out 3 blasts on either side of where the non-power gear blast would go otherwise. And it's a really good weapon against him because the arc is just perfect to almost always hit him. You really don't have to aim if you're using the power gear, and it destroys his bombs, most importantly. Everything except for the actual chain blast gets destroyed by the Blazing Torch. This is a solid fight, and is another S tier. Next up we have Blockman. Now, Blockman's strategy is he will just run and then try to jump on you. And then following that, he will use a block dropper in whatever direction you are relative to him. And we'll just repeat until he gets down to half health, at which point he won't be able to be damaged as he will become a giant brick golem. And this thing will just slowly move to your side of the screen, and we'll just repeatedly punch at Mega Man's location for massive damage if it hits. It's best to just use the power gear with his weakness, the chain blast, to damage him here, because normally chain blast you can fire up to 4 little bombs that will explode after a while, and the more of them that are connected together, the bigger the damage does. In fact, Blockman takes 4 damage from 1, 5 damage from 2, 8 damage from 3, 11 from all 4, and 10 from the big one if you're using the power gear. The advantage of using the power gear, even though it deals less damage, is it's easier to hit with, as well as it explodes on contact. So this, you can definitely get 2 hits off easily on the brick golem with the power gear. The third one you might have to time, because at certain points during his attack animation, he's just, it's almost like he's not even there. The bomb just passes through him harmlessly. After you destroy the brick golem, then he returns to his normal size with his normal amount of health. He will run to whichever corner you're not closest to, and from there he will just endlessly throw patterns of bricks at you that are easy to jump over and slide under. They can be destroyed easily with a Mega Buster. It will be difficult to hit him with a chain blast unless you get real close, but it is actually easy to get close to him to do so. As I said earlier, you will see that I used a weapon tank, but this was because of how I handled the early part of the fight. You do have enough weapon energy to defeat him with the chain blast normally without a weapon tank, but you know, I kind of drug out these fights just so you could see all of their attacks. But Blockman, because of his use of the power gear to turn into a giant brick golem that wastes a lot of time, has some weird invulnerability frames. It's very difficult to get away from. It does massive damage. I cannot put him in the S tier. It is still a pretty decent fight. I'd probably put him in the A tier above Chill Man. I just think the block golem thing, while it's cool, would have been better if it was saved for a fortress boss, but it's just a bit too much on a robot master. Next up we have Bounce Man. Now his strategy is to just bounce around the room, occasionally using his giant stretchy arms to throw punches at you. And that's all he does. When you hit him with the impact, the pile driver, sorry, need to get the name right. When you hit him with the pile driver, which is his weakness, it makes him explode into bits that all bounce around the room. They're not too difficult to dodge, and while he's in this state, you can damage him further by hitting the ball that served as his body originally. A normal pile driver will deal 4 damage on impact and another 4 on the explosion. And a power gear pile driver will deal 4 damage on impact and 6 damage on the explosion. And the only other thing to note about Bounce Man is that when he gets to half health, he uses the speed gear to bounce around the room really fast for a while. I don't think he's a particularly interesting robot master. I wouldn't say there's any problems with his fight though. So we could probably put him somewhere in the B tier. Right here between Plug Man and Hornet Man looks good to me. Next up we have Fuse Man. Now Fuse Man will start the fight by using Scramble Thunder, which will travel along the edges of the wall. There's actually a grid in his background where you can see where basically all the movement is going to happen. Scramble Thunder will go along the outside of this grid. After the Scramble Thunder is in place, Fuse Man will start basically teleporting to the holes in the grid. And when he teleports, he will shoot a bolt towards you, and he'll just keep teleporting. When he gets to about half health, he will activate the speed gear, and he will teleport several times and telegraph that he is about to land on Mega Man, giving you enough time to slide out of the way. And it's really satisfying to learn the pattern to avoid getting hit by him. His weakness is the bounce ball, which deals 4 damage whether you're using the power gear or not. The difference is that if you use the power gear, it shoots out twice as many balls. And it's very easy to hit him with this just because you have so many balls bouncing all around the arena. And I don't have a whole lot more to say. It's a really good fight. It's fun to learn. It's challenging. Very appropriate weakness. S tier. Probably better than Gemini Man. Next up, we have Impact Man. Now, his strategy is fairly simple. He'll jump towards you a couple times before using the pile driver a couple times at ground level to instantly charge across the screen. He'll stop once he hits the wall or if he hits you. And then he will turn into this like tri-wing shape and impact nails in 3 spots into the ground as he moves to the other side of the screen, and then he'll repeat the process. When he gets to half health, he will use the power gear, and he'll go to the middle of the screen, and he will summon the impact arms that you've seen launching towards you all throughout the stage from 6 different directions into him, and he will become a gigantic 3-pronged impact gun that will stomp down in the middle, and then the two arms on the side will come down and create an explosion when they hit. It also stuns you when the middle hits the ground, so you got to be super on top of your game to avoid getting hit by this thing and the explosion. He'll do this 3 times. After the one in the middle, he will go to the right and then to the left. That's probably reversed if you're on the other side of him, but I always end up on the right side when he does this somehow. His weakness is the the acid barrier, and this is kind of a complicated weapon for damage. So it will deal 4 damage if you just hit him with a blob from it normally. It will deal 4 damage if you used the power gear to summon the acid barrier, which actually makes the barrier deal contact damage to things if he touches the barrier. After that is this one's hard to actually hit him with, but it'll deal 3 damage if it hits. But when the barrier breaks, if you use the power gear to activate it, acid actually bounces off of the barrier, and if that touches him, it'll take 3 damage. But there's almost no scenario where you'll actually be able to hit him with that. And then if you just hit him with a shot from the acid barrier, when you summon it with the power gear activated, it'll deal 6 damage. I'm not sure how I feel about acid barrier as his weakness. I mean, obviously, this is not a robot master that you want to be near, so it's good that it can shoot, but I feel like the whole point of the barrier is to have, like, you know, that contact damage element to it. But there's almost no cases where you'll be able to even hit him with the barrier with contact damage and not take damage yourself, so that's kind of pointless. And he'll destroy the barrier around you, whether it was summoned with a power gear or not, just by touching you. I don't know. Not a great weapon for this boss. Probably not really a great weapon for any boss, honestly. But it's a great weapon going through the stages. I also think that his power gear is just a little bit too tight a timing to actually get out of the way of. I suppose they expect you to use the speed gear there, but, you know, this entire game is beatable without using either gear. I don't know. I guess they had to have something to force you to use the speed gear, but I don't like the speed gear. It slows things down. Impact Man is still an A tier. Probably up there with Splash Woman. Next up, we have the Robot Master with the hardest stage in the entire series, Torchman. Yes, I think his stage is harder than Quickman's. I said it. I struggle with it even knowing all the tricks and using speed gear in a casual run. It's ridiculous. But we're not talking about the stage, we're talking about the boss. So, Torchman will start the fight by throwing fire punches that go all the way across the screen and alternating height. One you have to slide under, and one you have to jump over. And then he'll jump towards you, jump up, and do a flaming kick towards you, and then repeat the process. When he gets to half health, he'll activate the power gear, and he will jump to one edge and create a flaming wheel that will roll across the screen that you can easily jump over. He'll jump up and land on the opposite corner of the screen, do it again. He'll jump up and land on the original corner of the screen and do it one more time before he jumps up and lands about where Mega Man is and creates a large column around him that reaches the entire vertical area of the screen of fire before resuming his normal pattern. His weakness is the thunderstorm, which deals 6 damage if you hit him with it normally. It just creates a little column similar to his own attack at the end of his power gear. And if you use the power gear, it deals 9 damage and becomes a screen nuke. So he's actually extremely easy with his weakness, which I guess is to make up for the fact that his stage is ridiculous, and he's actually kind of tough if you're not using his weakness. He moves really fast. I mean, it's a good fight. It's S tier. No, I think Blast Man's probably better. And our last Robot Master for the day is Thunderman. Now, I gotta give them credit for Thunderman. This Robot Master has style. Like, they did something unique with him. And I know Iceman skated around a little bit, but not like Thunderman. Thunderman's like a figure skater. And he incorporates that into his attacks, and it's just wonderful. I don't know if I even got through all of what he can do before he went into his speed gear at half health, but I saw him just skate along the floor from one edge to the other. I saw him do a couple of hops across the stage and you have to slide under. I saw him do a small hop followed by a long hop all the way to the other side of the screen. Fantastic. This is a wonderful fight to learn. When he gets to half health, he'll activate the speed gear and he'll skate really fast from side to side of the screen, I think 4 times. It might be variable, but I seem to recall it's usually 4 times. And after the last time, he will jump to the center and use his signature move, the Thunderstorm, which thankfully his is not a screen nuke like when you activate power gear. I guess because he activated speed gear. And you gotta love the flare in between his attacks when the spotlights go on him and he does a pose. This is a great Robot Master. His weakness is the Scramble Thunder, and I'm a little confused by the damage numbers, but if I understand it correctly, when you shoot the Scramble Thunder, if it initially hits him, it'll deal 4 damage. If it hits the wall and splits and touches him on the floor or something, then it'll deal 4 damage. If you use the power gear, if the shot hits him directly, it'll deal 5, and if it splits on the wall and touches him, it'll deal 8. That's a good weakness for him, because you kind of want, especially in power gear, to not hit him directly and have him skate over it and deal damage as it's split up and running across the ground. I might have actually had that backwards for the damage numbers. I don't know, it's hard to understand how this breaks down. The important thing is that Scramble Thunder is his damage. Is his weakness, and he deals the power gear numbers are 5 and 8, and the normal numbers are 4 and 4. And it's a good weakness for him. You know, I think this might be my favorite Robot Master now. Top of the S tier. And with that, our tier list is nearing completion. We have 2 games left.